What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to bring you a test and combo video for the Black Rose profile I showed you all the other day. I thought this would be the best way to give you a deep dive breakdown on what the deck wants to try and achieve, how it wants to do it going first or second. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. After a very decent shuffle and a good old cut, our starting hand of 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've got a fairly decent hand on this one, not as resilient as we would like it to be, but we do have the ability to dodge an effect on our Rox Rose Dragon, which is actually quite important. But then we also have the ability to utilize Revolution Synchron when we get a non-tuner, like White Rose Dragon, to the field, which could be really, really useful. So, starting off with your Rox Rose, this is like your ideal starter because this will get you to your Black Rose Garden. Just going to move Akita out of the way here so we can utilize more of the field. This is going to grab us access to our Black Rose Garden. Then we're going to activate Black Rose Garden to add a Rose Dragon monster from the deck to the hand, and you're going to want to go for your White Rose as that is your non-tuner access. The fact that your White Rose is also an extender is really, really important. Because we control a monster that is a Dragon Tuner or a Plant Tuner, we get to special this from the hand. Now, as these cards are a little bit unknown to most, the Revolution Synchron lets you synchro into a Dragon monster by utilizing it in the hand, but then it also has the ability in the graveyard to send the top card of your deck to the grave to bring it back as a level 1 tuner, and that's how you could very easily work your way into a Crystal Wing. Then we've got the Fairy Ant, the Circular Sorcerer. If an insect or plant is in either graveyard, you get to special summon this card from the hand. Only special summon it once per turn, and if it is used for a synchro material of an insect or a plant, you get to treat it as a non-tuner. So you've got a couple of different options here. You could be very, very defensive, specifically because we've opened up the Basil Rose Shoot. You could be like extra defensive if you want to, and actually utilize your Revolution Synchron to go into a Black Rose Dragon here, not use its effect. Or if you want to go into another dragon, you can go into a Cully Belt should you need to. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to insulate your ability or insulate yourself from the Biru as early as you possibly can. Because of the Basil Rose Shoot, we can actually continue to play after that. So it really does come down to, do I fear Nibiru? If the answer is yes, synchro these two into Black Rose. That's going to be your third summon. Then you use Revolution Synchron to bring itself back. And then you would go into a Crystal Wing. Now remember, because Black Rose Dragon is face up on the field, all of your monsters are currently plants on the field as well, which is really important, but the difference is the Revolution Synchron is trying to go into a dragon from the extra deck, so it doesn't matter what you use. So entirely up to you. If you want to play not so much less safe, but if you want to play more of a combo orientated route, you put these two together, like taking out of the factor of your Basil Rose Shoot, you actually put these two together and you go into your Perillis, which will get you the most. Because of the Revolution Synchron, I'll show you how you can utilize this to be as defensive as possible. So you're just going to be able to go synchro these two together. You can go into a Cully Belt or a Black Rose. I'm probably going to go into a Cully Belt on this one just for the pure fact that I want to save both my Black Roses. So I've got a bit more of a grind game when I want to utilize my Bramble Rose. Now you do have the ability of utilizing the White Rose Dragon. If it's Synchro Synchro, you get to send a level 4 or higher plant from the deck to the grave. Honestly, I don't want to do that yet, and because I'm going to utilize the Basil Rose Shoot to bring it back later on, I can use that effect again. And the reason I don't want to do that is if I do that, you're going to be sending your Vengeful Witch, which ultimately leads you into your Twilight Knight, which would then lead you into 5 summons. So we want to use Revolution Synchron to bring itself back to the field, send the top card of your deck to the grave, which is absolutely fine, and then synchro these two together into a Crystal Wing. So now you're insulated from the Biru. That's kind of what you're trying to achieve at this particular point. Then what you can do here is you're going to activate your Basil Rose Shoot. So this is going to let you special summon a Rose from the hand or grave in defense position. So you're going to want to bring back your White Rose. Just double check the Revolution Synchron. Comes 1, only use the effect once per turn. Once per duel on that one, that's fine. Couldn't remember if Revolution banished itself or not, but it doesn't. So then we're going to be able to put these two together. You're going to want to go into a 7. Now the 7 we're going to want to go into because we're going to push our combo as far as we can. It's going to be our Perillis. And the reason you want to do this is this will actually allow you to send summon cards back from the grave later on. We're now going to use the White Rose Dragon. The White Rose is going to be able to send from deck to grave a Vengeful Witch. Vengeful Witch will then discard. So it's up to you if you want to discard your Circular Sorcerer or if you want to discard your Frozen Rose. It doesn't make a big difference of which one. The Circular Sorceress just gives you a little bit more of an extension later on, but the Frozen Rose will actually be quite important because this one can actually give you a draw 2, discard 1, so you're trying to dig for hand traps during the end phase. So we'll discard this. summon out our Twilight Rose, wherever it may be. There we go, Twilight Rose. Twilight will then use its effect to bring back the Vengeful Witch. You can then use Twilight Rose effect to reduce this by a level 1, to then put these two together and go into your Rage Rose Witch. Rage Rose will then send one from the extra deck, being your Garden Rose Maiden. You could, if you wanted to, send the Lily Reaper. That's entirely up to you. I quite like the idea of the Garden Rose Maiden, because if I want to be greedy later on, I can actually utilize my Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and then use Garden Rose Maiden to bring it back. So we'll do that, and then from the deck, we're going to want to send either Glow Bulb or Spore. Spore actually gives you a little bit more flexibility to be a bit more greedy later on as well. Just going to put that sideways to show that we're not using it. So what we've got here is we can now use Spore to revive itself. It can manipulate its level to put it into a level 4, which means you can synchro into a 10 here if you want to. So you've got a couple of different options here. If we want to be like extra greedy, and I'm talking like extra greedy, what we would do is you would manipulate the level of Spore to make it a level 3 because it's up to the numbers. We would then use these two to synchro off, and because we're going first, we're going to go into our Jinchurishi. Then we'll use the Frozen Rose effect. Now, you've got two options. If there's a plant monster on the field, because remember with Frozen Rose, you send a face-up monster you control to the graveyard as cost, but you would apply the effect depending on the type it had on the field, which at the moment, all of these are going to be plants. So you could activate, well actually, let's play this safe first. We'll use the Garden Rose Maiden in the graveyard first to bring back our Crystal Wing. Now we're insulated again from the Nibiru. Activate the Frozen Rose, send the Rage Rose Witch to the graveyard. So during our end phase, we're going to draw 2, discard 1. We can then use the Perillis to bring back our Rage Rose, which now means all of our plants still can't be destroyed by card effect. And then as we move to the end phase, we're going to be able to resolve the Frozen Rose to draw 2 cards and discard 1. That's exactly what you're looking for, is you're trying to look for a hand trap. In the scenario of going first, that's when you're siding out your Molchummies and you're trying to draw into like Droll, Ashes, and then Ghost Spells, Ghost Ogres, Ghost Reapers, depending on whatever you're playing. So now we've got this, we've got our hand trap, we've now got monsters that can't be destroyed by card effect, we've got the ability to gain life points and then pay 1500 life points to destroy all cards on the field. All face-up monsters our opponent controls or spells and traps. Then we've got the Monster Negate off of the back of Crystal Wing. We've got Droll to stop our opponent searching, which can also be quite damaging. And then let's say this all comes back to our turn. So as this comes back to our turn, we're going to draw for turn. Doesn't matter what it is. So you taking this out of consideration, just to show you what we've got with what we already have preset in our graveyard. So you've got the ability to bring Spore back again, which is unbelievable to me. As long as you control a light plant monster, which you have here, or a beast or fairy, or ancient fairy dragon specifically, you get to bring it back, which is crazy. And the benefit of doing something like this is I can now increase its level by 4. Because I've got 4 monsters special from, sorry, not 4, by 2. Because there's only 2 monsters special from the extra deck, being these two. These two are actually revived from the graveyard. So now this gives me the ability, not that I'll need to, but I'm just going to go into a 7. So I'm not even going to manipulate its level. Going into a 7, we're going to go into Bramble Rose Dragon. We'll then use Perillis to bring back our Rage Rose Witch. And then we're going to use Bramble Rose's effect to tribute it off to summon out a Black Rose Dragon. Black Rose Dragon will then destroy all cards on the field, but because plants can't be destroyed and these are all plants, these all stay, but Black Rose Garden doesn't. Because it was destroyed by Black Rose Dragon's effect, our opponent will take 2,400 damage, and then the amount of plants we have in our graveyard being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, means our opponent is going to take a total of 2,900 damage already, and all of their field is now completely clear. Now, unfortunately, these are now no longer all plants, so our Perillis is not going to be as strong as you might want it to be, but we also have the ability of our Bramble Rose Dragon in the graveyard, that we get to banish this card, and then special summon 1 level 4 or lower plant tuner from the grave. So we want to banish this, we can bring back level 4 or lower plant tuner, which could be our Twilight. Twilight can then, on normal or special summon back 1 monster, but you would need to clear off some space first, otherwise you ain't going nowhere. But the idea is that we have that option available to us. Not that we should need it, because as this currently stands, our opponent has already taken 2,900 attack. 2,900 burn damage. So as soon as we switch these to attack position, you just get to go 3,000, 24, 31. This would be 2k and then 16. So that pushes you through for the OTK on the follow-up as well. So that was test stand number 1, just to kind of show you how this deck gets started. It is nice to go into Bramble Rose, but it's not an absolute necessity. And even without the Revolution Synchron, you could still make the combo work. You just dice with the Nibiru territory a little bit more, because what you then ultimately end up doing is you go into Nibiru territory and you put yourself in a position where it's like, right, Nibiru me now, or I'm going to start to extend, and you still have cards that you can hold back to continue to extend even if you do get Nibiru. So you're kind of insulating yourself where it's all possible. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle this up, and we're going to go first again just to keep showing you the consistency behind the deck and different kind of play routes that you might want to consider. So after another decent shuffle and a good old cut, our second test stand going first will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty much the same as our first one. So you still get your Rocks Rose, and then you've got like discard fodder and everything else you need. So you start off with your normal summon of the Rocks Rose. This will then let you grab your Black Rose Garden. You'd activate your Black Rose Garden. This then gets you your White Rose because that's the extender that you want. And I suppose this shows you what happens if you don't have Revolution Synchron. So you summon down the White Rose. You then get to synchro these two together. This will then go into a 7, still go into the Perilis. I just think it's probably a better one to go for. It is one of them later game ones. Like if you're trying to play under Nibiru, you still need to get into Rage Rose Witch really to get you the most advantage from it, but it still gives you a bit more to play with. Then you're going to utilize White Rose. White Rose will send Vengeful Witch. Vengeful Witch's effect will go off, allowing you to discard. So we'll discard our Twilight Rose. This will then allow us to summon out a Twilight Rose from the deck. Wherever it may be. There we go. Twilight will then allow us to revive back Vengeful Witch. Manipulate the level so it goes down to a level 3. Synchro these two together. Go into our Rage Rose. Now at this exact moment in time, we are going to be at, I'm pretty sure we're at 5 when Twilight brings back Vengeful Witch. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5. So if they want to Nibiru us before then, that would be a bit sad. But that's just kind of what you need to be semi-prepared for, depending on what else you have in your hand. So we're going to Rage Rose. Rage Rose will send 1 from extra, 1 from Dex. We'll send Garden Rose again. And from the deck, we'll send Spore. Sometimes if you don't want to utilize the effect, I quite like getting Spore in the graveyard for the fact that it can constantly keep being used. But if you don't have Perilis on the field, which is the requirement for Spore, then you'd send your Glow Up Bulb instead. Then use Spore's effect to bring it back to the field. You've got the option to go into a Crystal Wing should you want to. I'm going to decide not to go into Crystal Wing on this one specifically, just so, which actually means if I'm not going to go Crystal Wing, I don't need to send Garden Rose. This is me just to show you a different option. So we'll actually send the Licorice, the Lily Reaper. We're going to send that. We'll still Synchro and we'll go into Bramble Rose. And then we will be able to use Perilis to bring back our Rage Rose Rich. So now all of our plant monsters can't be destroyed by card effect. And then the Lily Reaper is that if your opponent takes any effect damage while this card is in the grave, you get to banish it from the grave to send a monster on the field to the grave with attack less than or equal to the difference in your life points. So once they're taking 600 off the back of the Bramble Rose and you open up the gap of the life points as much as you need to, or you just go Bramble Rose into Red Rose, destroys the Black Rose Garden, burn your opponent for even more, and you get to kind of push from there. So in this scenario, I could very easily activate the Basil Rose Shoot. I could very easily bring back anything from the grave. Honestly, I don't think it's worth it because all I'd be doing is I'd be bringing back White Rose to then activate Frozen Rose to send said White Rose to then draw 2 and discard 1. So it doesn't really get you anywhere. So in that scenario, I'd probably actually much rather hold these back because then if my opponent tries to interact with my field, I can actually start popping these off. So what I mean is I'll show you exactly what we've got. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pass our opponent's turn. During our opponent's turn, every time they activate an effect and it resolves, they take 600 damage and then all of their monsters lose 600 attack. Then once I feel that this is now going to be threatened, so it's going to be targeted or anything, I'm going to want to use this effect. We're going to tribute it off. We'll go into Black Rose Dragon. Black Rose Dragon's effect will go off as Chain Link 1. Now it's up to me on Chain Link 2. I don't mind the Basil Rose Shoot being destroyed because if this card is destroyed, you get to target one of your Black Rose Dragons or a monster that mentions it in the graveyard or banished and special summon it back. So that can give me direct access to bringing back Bramble Rose. I don't think it needs to be, I just need to double check if this needs to be Synchro summoned. Only use each effect once per turn. During the main phase, tribute special summon a Black Rose from the deck. Treat it as a Synchro summon. No, so technically, I can actually bring back, because it mentions Black Rose Dragon, technically what I can do is when I activate Black Rose Dragon here, I can use Frozen Rose if I want to send one of these plants so that during the end phase I draw 2 and discard. I wouldn't want to send this because then these would all be able to be destroyed. So you need to keep that in mind. Might even send Black Rose, to be honest. because Black Rose, it's the attribute they have on the field, the type they have on the field, which at the moment is plant. So if we go Chenic 1 Black Rose, go Chenic 2 Frozen Rose, send Black Rose to the graveyard so that during the end phase we can draw 2, discard 1. We then resolve the Black Rose, which will destroy both of these cards, and then the Basil Rose Shoot will resolve, bringing back the Bramble. So my opponent will take 2400 off the Black Rose Garden, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 2900 damage. I bring back the Bramble Rose so that they can keep constantly burning. And then as soon as they burn on an activation and they're trying to put a monster on the field that I don't like, I can use Lily Reaper. So in the graveyard, if your opponent takes effect damage while this card's in the grave, you get to banish it, send a monster on the field to the grave with attack less than or equal to the damage, the difference in your life points, sorry. So obviously the bigger the life point difference, the bigger kind of send target you can cost. So we'll get rid of the Lily Weeper. And then during the end phase, we're going to draw 2 cards and discard 1. So Vengeful Witch and Ash, which we would have got in the previous turn anyway. So you go, okay, well, Vengeful Witch is not a bad start to go again. So I can just discard an Ash Blossom. And let's say we already used an Ash Blossom on our opponent. So we're in a good position. You then draw for turn. Doesn't matter what it is. There we go. And then just to kind of show you how that it doesn't matter what it is, we've got the ability to go Spore again, which is just crazy. So bring back Spore. Spore can only go up to 1. So we can go up to make it an 8. So it makes it a 2, sorry. So we put these 2 together, go into a Crystal Wing. So we're installated. Use Perillis, bring back Rage Rose. We still got Bramble Rose. So Bramble Rose can use this effect to get into Black Rose if we need to. So if they've decided to set a defensive field, we could use this as early as possible. Go into Black Rose, nuke the field. Unfortunately, actually, if I do that, I lose everything. So we're not going to do that. I forgot I didn't have the Black Rose Garden in play. So just keep it as Bramble Rose. Either then, so we like 3k, 2-4, 1600, and then up by 800. So this would be 24. And I'm trying. That's without us normal summoning down Vengeful Witch or normal summoning down Red Rose. Red Rose could actually help us tune as well, to be fair. So Red Rose can get us into a 10 or an 11. And trying to think if there's anything else in the graveyard we can utilise. No, not really. But still, that kind of shows you, like, they've already burnt for 3k as well. So I keep forgetting, like, burning for 3k is actually a sizable chunk of damage to the life points. That's like a sizable chunk that you don't need to worry about, which is really important. Anyway, that was our test stands going first. Now let's go second. This is where, like, Black Rose Dragon itself really does come into its own, which is really, really cool. So we're going to shuffle this up. We're then going to cut up, and then we'll do our first test hand going second, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not a Thuos. Usually 6 card is a Thuos. That's just the way it works. Okay, so we've got 2 options on this one, and this is what I really like about Rose Princess. So if your opponent controls a monster, which as we're going second they probably will do, you get to special summon this card from the hand. If summoned this way, it can be treated as a tuner. You can only special summon it once per turn this way, but I can also discard this card to add a White Rose cluster from the deck to the hand. So we're going to use the effect to this. We're going to discard this to get us our White Rose. And the reason we want to do that is we can now activate this as our field spell, which allows us to special summon down a Rose Dragon or a plant monster from our hand. So before we do that, special summon down Rose Princess. So you've got this guaranteed non-tuner on the field, and you can use it as a tuner if you want to, but we don't want to right now. We'll then normal summon down our Rox Rose. Rox Rose effect attempts to activate. Now, of course, our opponent can interact with us on this one. Doesn't make that big of a difference as it is. But we've got 2 Black Rose Dragons, Black Rose Gardens we can get access to, or 2 Basil Rose Shoots. The issue is both of these are hard once per turn, which is really, really annoying. So let's go for, I think it has to be Black Rose Garden. Yeah, it has to be Black Rose Garden, really. So we'll take a second Black Rose Garden. Then activate a Black Rose Garden. This will then get us White Rose. It's kind of what you want to be pushing for anyway. Now, keeping in mind, we haven't actually used our normal summon. So you've got a couple of different options here. So we can synchro off our Rox Rose straight away with our Rose Princess and gets us a level 6. Which isn't the worst idea. Because, and the reason I say that, is as my monsters are all plants, utilising these 2 to get us into our Rage Rose. Rage Rose then sends from the extra to the grave, so let's send a Garden Rose because we want to be aggressive. Let's send Spore again. Where is Spore? Send Spore so we can manipulate levels. Now we haven't used our main normal summon, so we can normal summon down our Cyclops. Cyclops on normal special lets us discard a card to then add an insect or plant tuner from our deck to the hand. So let's discard Black Rose Garden, as we've already activated one. This will then allow us to add one that can be a non-tuner, which is quite important. So we'll be able to grab, what can I add? I can add an insect or plant tuner. I guess we just add this, don't we? And then if an insect or plant is in either grave, you get to special on this card from the hand. So special summon this. I probably should have done Spore along. No, because I need a plant monster on the field first. So then we will synchro these two, because this one could be used as a non-tuner if it's used as for a synchro or plant. So we'll put both of these together. Go into Bramble Rose. And now what I'm doing is I've kind of put my opponent in this position of, okay, if they want to activate anything, they have to start paying 600 life points. And then if they don't do anything, I'm going to go, cool, Bramble Rose. This will then allow me to go into Black Rose. Black Rose effect will go off, destroying the White Rose cluster, the Black Rose garden, but because it's a plant and they're all protected, Rage Rose protects the Black Rose and I nuke my opponent's entire field. And now I can extend that a little bit further because I can go, cool, special summon down White Rose, activate the Basil Rose Shoot. Basil Rose Shoot brings back Rox Rose. Not that I need to, yeah, I probably do need to do this actually. Synchro these two together, go into, probably should just go Perilous just to be safe. So we'll go into Perilous. We'll be able to use White Rose's effect to send. Level 4, I mean, you want Vengeful Witch, but I don't have a card to discard, so it's not really worth doing. I'll send Vengeful anyway, but it's not worth doing. I'm not going to be doing anything with it because I don't have any more discards. But what I do have is I have the ability of Spore to come back now because I've got a light plant. This can manipulate its level to go up to a level 3, which makes it a total of a level 4. So if I want to, I can synchro into an 8 or a 10. I'm just going to make it a 2, just to kind of insulate myself that one step further for a Crystal Wing. And then the Perilous will bring back the Rage Rose. And then I've got Bramble can banish itself. Level 4 lower plant. So let's bring back... Did I get a Twilight in rotation? No, I didn't. I want to go for a 10. Probably go for an 11 now, actually. So we'll bring back the Cyclops, and then we'll go synchro these two. Yeah, 11. Going to Jinchurishi or Psychic End Punisher. Psychic End Punisher is a little bit stronger. So we'll go into this. So not only have we cleared our opponent's field with Black Rose, but we could use his effect. If there's a card that couldn't be destroyed by card effect, use the effect to target a defensive monster our opponent controls and change it to attack. And its attack becomes 0. So 3,000, 4, 5, 6, 7,000, 8, 9, 10, 10,500 damage is on that field there. So that is your OTK play. Now, of course, you could try and push yourself into Black Rose as early as you possibly wanted to. The reason I wanted to try and get the Rage Rose Witch on the field first was just to kind of protect it from being completely wiped out by... Like, I would then rely on a little bit more extension plays that you don't really need to or want to be doing. Anyway, our final test end will go second again, just to kind of show you the different variations that you can get away with. So after another very decent shuffle and another decent cut, our final test hand going second will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This is an interesting one. So start off with your Rox Rose. Like, unless you open up an extender, you're always going to start with your Rox Rose. It's just so good. Oh, sorry, we're going second, aren't we? 6. So we would have ashed our opponent for sure. Unfortunately, this isn't the strongest of hands because we've opened up like cards you don't want to be seeing in conjunction with each other. Like, you kind of want to get Red Rose off of the back of White Rose to get you access to your Rox Rose. But once you directly see Rox Rose, you just go, cool, Rox Rose. Of course, I could grab Basil Rose Shoot, but Black Rose Gun is just so important. So we'll grab this. This will then allow us to add white rose, summon down white rose. And again, you can go into black rose if you wanted to, but you wouldn't really get a huge amount of advantage doing so. So play it safe, go Perilla, sorry. Then we're going to utilize white rose to send. So we're going to send Vengeful. Vengeful discards Twilight to then summon Twilight from the deck. Twilight then revives Vengeful. It then manipulates the level of Vengeful to make it a 3, to then go into a 6 of our Rage Rose. Rage Rose then sends Garden Rose from the extra deck, and sends Spore from the extra deck, the main deck. Get them right way around eventually. Then we want to insulate ourselves, so nothing else we've got in the hand here. So we've got this, we've got this, we've got the Spore can come back. You kind of want to bring Spore back. Like if I'm not worried about Nibiru, I'm not even going to try to go to it. So I'm just going to synchro these two together. I'm going to go into Bramble. Use Perillis to bring back your Rage Rose. You're kind of covered from that kind of scenario. And then use Bramble, tag itself out, go into Black Rose. Black Rose destroys Black Rose Garden, but everything else stays. Burns our opponent for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, so 3,000 damage already, and we've completely cleared their field. That's 4,000 there, and this is going to be up by 400, so that's 2k there. That's enough for game. But if you want to push that a little bit further forward, you can utilize your Bramble Rose, banish it, bring back a level 4 or lower plant. Just double check it is lower on this one. Yeah, level 4 or lower plant. So what do I want to go for? I can get to a 10. I didn't manipulate Spore actually. So I could put Spore to a 3. Doesn't really help me. It gets me a 9 or a 10. Gets me the exact same outcome. If you feel you need a little bit of extra attack on the phone, I suppose you bring back your Twilight Rose, but probably not needed. You can just go, cool, you've already burnt for 3k, and then you go 4k there, and then the final 2k there. So you've done 9k damage in total, cleared your opponent's field off, and worked in the OTK. And that's just how like crazy good it can be sometimes, just because I think a lot of the time the burn is kind of underestimated. Like you can keep Bramble Rose on the field a little bit longer should you want to, and that'll really put a bit more pressure on your opponent, because you're basically then saying to them, you know, we're going to start a ticking clock. If you can't out this, you're going to start burning every time you want to try and activate and resolve card effects. So everything you do now starts having a cost to it, which is really painful. Anyway, that's it for the entire kind of test down video. I hope this has given you a bit of an insight into how the deck wants to try and play. Of course, you can change it around a little bit more, and then kind of work it a little bit differently. So it gives you a bit more flexibility. You can adapt it as you see fit, kind of play it as we've seen previously with the Illusion package. I feel that this is more true to Black Rose itself, and it does have a lot of nice little niche interactions, which can be very, very important for you. Anyway, that's it for the entire profile. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.